They won't tell you they've stopped loving you. There will be no dramatic, final words, no tears, no closure, just a silence that slowly grows louder. And before you realize it, the person you thought would walk beside you forever has already started walking away. In the world of Zen and Buddhist philosophy, the most profound changes in life don't come with noise. They arrive like the wind, invisible but deeply felt. And among these changes, the quiet ending of love is perhaps the most disorienting. But what if you could recognize it before you're completely adrift? Let's explore the two subtle yet undeniable signs that someone's love is fading, not as a way to cling harder, but to understand more deeply, to let go more peacefully, and to grow more powerfully. Love, the living stream. Love at its birth is vibrant. It flows through us like a mountain stream, clear, cool, full of life. When we are held in the presence of love, everything feels illuminated. We laugh more easily. We breathe more fully. We feel as though we finally found a home within someone else's soul. But like the stream, love is not meant to remain static. The very nature of love, as Buddhist wisdom teaches us, is impermanence. It comes, it flows, it nourishes, and sometimes it moves on. We often resist this truth. We want love to stay, to remain exactly as it was in its most beautiful moments. But no matter how tightly we hold on, love, when it chooses to leave, slips quietly through our fingers. The first sign, emotional withdrawal. When love fades, it doesn't vanish overnight. The first sign, and perhaps the most painful, is emotional withdrawal. The person who once leaned into you emotionally now leans away, little by little. They stop laughing at your jokes. The spontaneous texts or soft glances disappear. Conversations that once flowed effortlessly now feel forced, awkward, mechanical. They are still present physically, but something essential is missing. The soul-to-soul connection that once felt undeniable now feels absent. And the worst part? They may not even realize they're doing it. From my experience, and perhaps yours too, this emotional detachment is often more painful than a clean break, because you're left questioning yourself. Did I do something wrong? Can I fix this? Am I imagining it? But as the Zen masters say, the heart knows the truth before the mind can explain it. That shift in presence and energy is not your imagination. It's the beginning of a goodbye that has no words. The Zen parable, the wanderer and the sage. To truly understand this process, we look to an ancient Zen parable. A wanderer weary from a love that seemed to fade, without warning, climbed a mountain to seek the wisdom of a revered sage. With eyes full of sorrow, he shared his story. How sweet words turned cold, how embraces loosened, how silence replaced laughter. The sage, without interruption, listened. Then, with a quiet smile, he led the wanderer to a garden. Pointing to a flower, he asked, "Do you see this bud bending in the wind? Once it was bright and strong, but now its petals fall one by one. Is it crying out in pain? Is it resisting the change?" The wanderer shook his head. "When love goes," the sage said, "it does not shatter, it dissolves. And it's in this dissolving, this fading, where the deepest lessons lie." The water in the hands. Then the sage dipped his hand into a bowl of water and lifted it. As droplets slipped through his fingers, he said, "See how the water falls? It does not struggle. It does not cling. It simply flows away." And so it is with people who stop loving you. They may not leave right away. They may even stay in the same room. But slowly, they move away in spirit. The gestures that once radiated warmth now feel hollow. Their words lose flavor. Their energy no longer meets yours. And though they are beside you, it feels as though they're staring out through a window only they can see. The inner knowing. Here lies the quiet tragedy. We often see these signs, we feel them, but we refuse to believe them. We cling to memory, to comfort, to hope, But the truth is not in what was, it's in what is, and what is can only be heard when we're brave enough to listen without distortion. This is not an invitation to judge, nor is it a sign to act out in anger or despair. Instead, it's a moment to recognize love in its true form does not need to be begged for. When love is real, it shows up consistently, gently, openly. There was a time in my life when I refused to see this. I mistook absence for stress. I mistook distance for distraction. I thought if I just tried harder, gave more, loved louder, I could reignite what once was. But love that has faded cannot be forced back into bloom, like the flower in the sage's garden. There comes a time when the petals must fall not because they weren't beautiful, but because their time has passed. And letting go of those petals is not the end of beauty, but the beginning of something new. In the stillness that follows emotional withdrawal, something even more telling begins to unfold, the second sign that someone has lost the love they once held for you. And this time, it's not just about what's missing, it's about what replaces it. The second sign, subtle irritation and avoidance. When someone no longer feels love, their perception of you shifts quietly but significantly. What once endeared you to them now begins to irritate. The quirks they used to smile at, now they seem to test their patience. The conversations they once leaned into, now feel like interruptions to their own internal world. They may not express it in cruel words, at least not immediately, but their tone changes. Their responses become shorter. They look for reasons not to be around you. More time with friends, more time with work, more time with distractions. And when they are around, you might notice a quiet tension in the air, as if your presence alone is asking a question they no longer wish to answer. The shift in energy. You feel it before you understand it. The air between you grows heavier. They no longer seek your opinion. Your pain no longer moves them. Your joys no longer excite them. And here lies a cruel paradox. You may still love them. You may still want to hold on. But they are already slipping into a life that no longer includes you in the way it once did. This is not failure. This is not shame. This is the impermanence of human connection, and it must be faced with compassion, not just for them, but also for yourself. A Zen story, The Empty Cup. A Zen master once invited a visitor to tea. As he poured the tea into the guest's cup, he kept pouring and pouring until the cup overflowed. The guest cried out, "Stop! The cup is full. No more will go in." The master smiled and said, "Just like this cup, you are full of your own ideas. Before I can teach you, you must first empty your cup." When someone stops loving us, we often resist the reality, try and pour more effort, more love, more sacrifice into a cup that is already full, or worse, already empty. But love is not a force that can be forced. To chase after it in desperation is to misunderstand its very nature. Suffering and attachment. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not from pain, but from attachment. We suffer not because love ends, but because we refuse to accept that it has. We cling, we replay memories. We hold on to how things used to be, hoping that somehow, by sheer will, we can make them that way again. But no amount of clinging can reverse the natural flow of impermanence. The flower blooms, the flower fades. It is not cruelty, it is life. The gentle art of letting go. So, what do we do when we see these signs of withdrawal, the subtle irritation, the emotional absence? We do not beg. We do not shame. We do not fight. Instead, we breathe, we feel, and slowly, we release. Letting go is not weakness. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is the most courageous act we can take when love is no longer being offered freely. To say to yourself, "This is no longer mine to hold," is to honor both the love that once was and the peace that now calls you forward. I've walked this path. I've tried to force the door back open. I've tried to reignite something that had already burned itself out. And I've learned painfully and profoundly that real love doesn't require convincing. When it's right, it leans in, it stays. When it's gone, it retreats, and often with silence, not anger. The deeper wisdom is not in how to keep others from leaving, but how to keep ourselves whole when they do, what the teachings tell us. Zen and Buddhist philosophy does not romanticize love, but it does deeply respect it. It reminds us that everything in life is temporary, including relationships, emotions, even our identities. It teaches us that peace isn't found in permanence, but in presence. So if someone stops loving you, do not run from that truth. Do not chase. Do not harden your heart. Instead, return to yourself. Find stillness. Reconnect with the love that lives within you, and you alone. Someone who loses love for you will not always say it outright, but their silence will speak volumes. Their absence will leave echoes, and their energy will drift like smoke from a candle that's just gone out. And when that happens, breathe, bow in gratitude for the moments that were real, and let them go not out of bitterness, but from the deepest well of self-respect, because you deserve love that does not hide, that does not retreat, that does not grow cold in the night, and pretend it's still warm in the day. If this message resonates with your experience, share it. Let someone else know they are not alone in the quiet heartbreak of fading love. And if you are walking through this pain right now, pause, put your hand on your heart, and say these words aloud. I am enough. I am whole. And I am still worthy of love, even in their absence. If you found value in this reflection, consider subscribing to our channel for more wisdom rooted in Zen, Buddhist teachings, and mindful living. Your journey matters. Your heart matters. And we're here to walk beside you every step of the way.